Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the wrong end of the snake question and answer overtime period. Jim Service has graciously agreed to spend another half an hour or so with us. Boy, that hour flew by. So we want to get back into it and get as many questions as we can in this little half hour that we have left. Tater, you saw somebody ask a Q&A during the meeting.
Yeah, we had a lot of questions, people raising hands. And we got to admit, we don't know what we're doing when it comes to that. We're just like freezing.
Yeah, Bill Cozy. I don't know what to do when you raise your hand, Bill.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So we had Bill on, and Bill Cozy wanted to say something. It's too bad we missed it because it would have been fantastic. We love Bill. Bob Cromwell Wilcox was on. We're going to get to question him. Vitaly asked a question, but real quick, because we kind of ended with iconic guitars. Let's talk a bit about Cheap Trick, because everyone in the world, if you're a roadie or something, has got a picture with that, I don't know, what is it, 6 neck guitar, 5 neck guitar.
5 neck, yeah.
Thing's got to weigh a zillion pounds, just even if it's thin. So let's talk about that iconic guitar and maybe working with Rick Nielsen real quick, and that'll lead into Bill Cozy because he does their front of house sound.
Right on. The 5 neck, yeah.
I actually think I have a picture of it. I think you sent it to us. Let me just share it real quick so you guys can see what we're talking about. Check that out.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that, Pooch. Great, yeah.
Yeah.
There it is, yeah.
The secret with the 5 neck is you don't have to tune the bottom neck. You can't reach it.
There we go. Inside scoop. I think our first one on the show.
It's a fretless anyway on the bottom, so I don't know what he would do if he could reach it.
Oh, that's cool.
But that's a cool guitar. I mean, Cheap Trick for me, when those guys were kind of a punk rock band, the first, handful of records out of those guys before, and I liked them later when they got more polished, but that first stuff was monumentally impressive on me. And I was a huge fan of Cheap Trick before I ever knew them or worked with them. So for me to work with Rick when I did, and I've worked with him a handful of times because I'd have to go out and do, an Aerosmith tour, and then I'd come back and they'd need somebody for the summer, and I'd go do them, and then I'd go back to something else, and then they need something, and so it probably 3 different occasions, maybe even more, that I was in and out of Cheap Trick. But what a great band. And for me, just I can't tell you how important they were to me, and how much I love them, and how much I love Rick Nielsen. I mean, he was, it's funny, he's the living cartoon. I mean, the guy, he doesn't have to ever slip out of character because he's always in character. It's just that guy, the cartoon, right? And working with him was something else. That guitar weighs a million pounds, and it
has to go everywhere.
That guitar, occasionally there'd be like a fly date, where it was a corporate or something and it wouldn't go. But when I was there, I think it didn't go. There was a few logistical times that it didn't go, but 99% of the time it goes. People need to see that, and they want to see it.
So getting into that, because it's such an iconic guitar. Sorry. It's such an iconic guitar, and everybody in the world's got a picture with that guitar, or anybody that gets near the guitar tech gets that. And the constant Cheap Trick obviously is a legend. Everybody wants a damn guitar pick from that guy, and they know you got 8 zillion of them because you got to put them all over the mic stand, all over every, they're everywhere. Yeah. So we're talking about relationships. How are you? And I know how you act, so I know it's not a problem, but it's got to bug you a little bit when you're trying to just get that last string in right or something. Somebody's always in your ear for a pick and this and that. How do you play that, and how do you handle that?
If I'm usually pretty good about it. I know that, especially with guys like Cheap Trick, where there's a million picks, they're a penny. Everybody can have one. I'm happy to give people picks as much as possible. sometimes I take a little exception when I'm like, soldering, something together or doing a repair, and I've got, a deadline or the show's coming, or I'm in my zone and somebody comes up and starts asking me. I think that's kind of bad etiquette. And I usually don't tell people to F off or anything. I just say, come and hit me later. Or sometimes I'll still give them a pick and just say, hey, not now, or whatever. I think in the old days, I used to be a little more aggro about it. But it's funny, Spike, right?
Oh yeah.
Mike Rush. So everybody would want to get Gene Simmons' pick. He was with Gene for a couple of decades, I think. And they always wanted picks, and he was the most cantankerous guy. So we had a carpenter. We found this mascot uniform in like one of the hallways for like their minor league hockey team, and the carpenter put the uniform on. So Spike didn't know who it was, and he shows up at the Gene Simmons guitar pit with in the afternoon with this mascot uniform and a deep Southern accent, which he didn't have. And he goes, "Hey man, give me some picks."
Oh, no.
A real pushy redneck, and it was just fun watching Spike go crazy.
Spike loses his mind.
Getting messed with, but usually I'm pretty good about that kind of stuff, especially now that I'm kinder and gentler.
It's a kinder, gentler business, but but there is a right etiquette and there is a right time and place. You see the guy working or tuning the guitar, give him a second, and all that kind of stuff. And
I mean, on some tours I've had a bowl of picks sitting on the corner of my bench going, take a pick if you want one. And I've done that too, if I've got a whole bunch and that's the etiquette of the guy that I'm working for or whatever.
That's true. A lot follows the etiquette of the guy you're working for, right? I mean,
some guys don't want to give out a million picks. They like them a little bit more, hard to get or mysterious or whatever. And then you got Rick Nielsen who blankets the universe. It's just but really, I think Rick is the guy that invented the pick thing. Before Rick I don't know that anybody was doing personalized picks, and he really made it a thing. And now there's, pick forums and people that collect these things and are very passionate about it. And, but I think Rick, if he wasn't the core nucleus of that movement, he was right there, when it was happening.
One of the questions, I can't remember who asked it. Sorry if it's not a shout out here, but one of the questions that one of the guys asked in the normal meeting we just had was something about balancing home life versus touring and how we, I can remember when I was a little bit younger, there were tours that I did that was almost 2 years long. And I would be gone for 6 months, 5 months without seeing my family and going for that long. And I think the question was like, how do you do that? What's advice you would give to a roadie who's, with the latest pop tour these days and out there for a year and a half? How do we balance life and touring?
Well, for me, those super long ones don't seem to be coming around as much as they used to. They're shorter chunks. The work have more breathing holes in it nowadays, at least in my area. But in the old days, it was rough. There was no FaceTime. There was no cell phones. I remember going to you'd be in Europe for a few months, and it was super expensive to call anywhere and difficult.
There's a race to the production phone.
Yeah.
Production phone. I used to travel around with I bought a phone and left it in my shower bag. And so you'd hit go
around
the empty dressing rooms.
Checking all the jacks.
Yeah.
And half of the time you'd find one. And so that kept the prices down. I had my little compact phone, hardwire phone. But there was no, there was no internet. I remember going to Europe. There was no cell phones. There was no FedEx. There was no, I mean, if in the old days it was rough. Now there's a lot of tools to help you along, and you know, FaceTime can, you know, be a great help when you're trying to be married or have kids or just have a life in general. It's been a great tool.
And paying bills and all that stuff. It was difficult to pay bills back then. Yeah.
It was rough though. I mean, you know, that double-edged sword when, you know, I got married young and we had a young baby and my wife was young and we had everything but money. And, and I started getting some traction in my career, you know, surf when the surf is up, and the surf started coming up pretty good. And I would just take everything in my path. And it probably, in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done it so aggressively, but I was so hungry and I wanted to, you know, provide for my people and do well and have a nice house and, you know, be successful and just, you know, it was hard to say no to anything. So I really didn't. And thank God that, you know, my family at the time supported me and you know, my kid, you know, made it through his childhood with his dad.
Survived it.
You know, most of the time. But
I always tell people that it requires a very strong woman at home who, at least in my experience, my wife is a very strong woman and she has her own life going on when I'm not there. And then when I am here, I'm a participant in that life. You know what I mean? It's like we're a team, but we are apart from each other more than we are together, except for this year. But, you know, it takes someone that can be on their own to be able to make that happen, I think.
Yeah. My personality lends itself nicely to the kind of sequestered life that you know, when we do our shows and stuff, it's a million people. But other than that, I like to walk around by myself, you know, if I'm in Europe or even in the States. And, you know, I walk around usually by myself. I like it. Just kind of wander and explore. And if you're by yourself, there's, you know, it's just wherever the wind blows you, you know, there's nobody else's agenda that you're doing, you know. So I like kind of doing that, floating around by myself. So, being on the road and being away for me isn't hard because I've kind of got the lone wolf personality. And I think that it, you know, your wife, you know, is obviously a strong woman and can keep things rolling and doesn't crumble if you're away, you know, in your case. So, you know, she's got the strength too, but does she have a big social circle or does she kind of stick to her own when you're out?
You know, it's weird. We're both kind of creatures of being by ourselves.
I think that actually helps.
Yeah, I think so too.
For our thing. But yeah.
So what I want to get into for 1 second is I wanted to get into this in the main show and we didn't get into it. And it's the whole, for me, of all the jobs out there, in the touring industry, you know, many people work for a service company like lighting vendors, sound vendors, catering, the bus drivers, truck drivers. They all rely on a company to get them work. You know, I always feel monitor engineer, if you're worth your salt, there's no problem getting a job. Same with front of house engineer at a certain level, you're gonna get work if you're good. But a backline guy, it's totally different because there's a few more situations where the backline guy may have started out to being a friend of the guy, and there's a lot of situations, or they work for the band full time and they're doing stuff for them at their houses or where they live and all that kind of stuff. But to be a professional backline guy like you have, those are, to me, very few and far between, to do the job full time, make a living at it, and do well at it, and going from job to job to job. And I think in all the jobs in the music industry, being a backline and maintaining that is very, very tough. Am I wrong on that, or is that pretty much true?
Yeah, there's been a lot of times when I wished I had a sound company to go and and work at or get put on another tour, from the vendor that I'm working for, but I'm the vendor I'm working for. It's, you're right.
Yeah.
You're independent, and it's tough. And you're right. Sometimes people are in these jobs that, are, maybe technically not there or whatever, but they're just, for whatever reason, they're convenient, or like you said, they're somebody's friend or whatever. But I don't know. I really don't know the answer of how I've been able to keep it going. I'm just glad that I have, and I try and have positive relationships with my artists, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you're not gonna jibe with the guy that you're with or working for, and you got to find a way to kind of still execute the job.
Be a total pro. Yep.
Yeah, there's been some, clients that I've had that are less than fun to work with, and they probably say the same thing about me. Who knows? But it's not always a fit, and I'm glad that I'm able to. I'm confident going out and getting other work, because if it's not a fit, you just keep your, availability sign up, and something usually rolls along.
Yeah, I always felt if you don't stress about it, something always comes. I know guys are like 3 weeks out from the end of the tour, and they're calling and this and that and this and that. I always kind of just let it ride. It always seems to work out for me, and that's how I've always played it. I know everybody does it quite different, but sometimes it is tough because when you're around all those vendors and they're going, oh, I got to go right out on this and stuff, and you're going, oh, shoot, I don't kind of have anything yet and stuff, and you kind of, you're getting nervous because you're hearing them talk about it because their company's putting them out, but when you're working for yourself, it can be a little stressful.
Yeah, it sure can. And I'm pretty good at like squirreling away, for the any in between times, because you don't always walk, the timing isn't that you're always going to have a job waiting, as soon as you're done with this job or this year's over. So
I'm glad you just brought that up because I think, everybody's financial positions are different. We can't comment on everybody's, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. But, obviously being in this business anyway, forget COVID and what's going on now, you need to have some protections and put some stuff away. I know it's fun getting that per diem and blowing it and, living the circus lifestyle, but, you always got to me, that was always ingrained to me at the beginning when I wasn't making a lot of money. You need to put some of this away and do the right things with it because you're not going to be working 12 months out of the year. It's not necessarily a full-time job. And you got to do that. And this hits now, and it's the perfect example. Anything can happen. We all work for volatile artists and artists that are prone to injuries and stuff happening. You got to set yourself up for success on the downtime. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, it gets scary sometimes. Your little nest egg starts to whittle down, and somebody, I got a good call or whatever, but. Yeah, it's. There's been a couple of little dry holes, a little more as of in the last decade than the earlier decades. I think, the way the business in general has kind of changed. I'm not doing records anymore. That used to be a chunk of what I did too. So that's kind of gone. It's mostly almost all live now. Hardly any studio. But
do you find that your work, I'm trying to edge you towards talking about where your work comes from, the different places that it comes from, because like what Tater was just saying, we often get heads up about work from a sound company, for instance. So do you have relationships with managers, production managers, tour managers, or does your work come from that direction at all?
Yeah, I mean, I got a handful of people that I know. Who's been really great? Craig DeFalco, Datehead, has he's been like my agent the last couple of years. Like, I got another one for you. Like, thanks, dude. And I haven't had to do shit. He's been awesome. But yeah, you never know where it's going to come from. Another backline guy, you can't do it. You got Steve.
And that says a lot. If Craig's putting his name on your name, that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing but respect for him, and it seems like he does for me too. And yeah, he's doing the Slash gig too. So we do stage right and stage left on Slash, and I've just known him forever, decades at this point. And he's been awesome. So yeah, there's been different angles. You got Steve Woods coming on your next show, you're saying?
Yep.
Him and I had beers down in, South America when he was down there with Steel Panther. And that's networking,
Yeah, totally.
At the hotel bar talking about stuff. And, he and I know a bunch of the same people with, Joe and the Vampires and, some of that Boston connection stuff. And I was down there with Kiss. So, we weren't necessarily friends, but, it was another, just having a few drinks with him and bullshitting was another, way to connect with him. And, and maybe someday my phone rings from him. I think it's as simple as that. Just try and cultivate positive relationships with anybody and do it in a sincere way. Not like, hey man, hear of anything, it's, just,
no, that's absolutely the truth, man. I mean, having a sincere relationship, I think, gets you way, way more than having a Hollywood LA relationship with somebody.
Yeah, I'm not just hanging out with you because I'm trying to get a gig and
right
because we're hanging out.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But I mean, I really just, now I'm kind of on the backside of the career. I'm 58 in November, so who knows when I'll be done with this. But I see some other guys that really go into their 60s and do this. So who knows what's I mean, if this ended today, it was a home run, and I'd be so thrilled about it. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful and appreciative of what's the good things in my career and that have happened to me. And I've called it a win at this point. So I feel right now that, it's all gravy, and, who knows, in maybe 5-7 years, if we're all still working and this doesn't cripple us out too much, this pandemic, hopefully we'll get back to work and get back on this horse and ride, and I can do it. I still feel good. I feel like I got gas in the tank. I have fun with it. I like my artist now. He's an awesome player, Richard Fortis.
Yeah, he's great.
Man, can that guy play? You can kind of talk.
Those nice little gigs, you feel at home.
What's that?
Those nice little gigs they do. Don't they do real kind of small places?
Yeah, they do little places, but that's a good outfit to be with too, because I mean, you guys get it with Iron Maiden, but it's fun the way that those guys roll. I haven't rolled on something that large in a while.
Yeah, good dudes.
One show every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, we
old man schedule.
Old man schedule. That's what we call it, and we like it. Yeah, it's good.
I'll take it.
One last question for you here. If you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Wow. I would tell my 18-year-old self to stay grounded, and I would tell my 18-year-old self to stay humble, and that would be, I think, the simple message: be grounded, be humble, be sincere, and work hard.
Mine is don't take things so seriously. You know what I mean? Like I took things.
True. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, that can crush you. If you can lighten up a little bit, the journey is a lot better.
Yeah, that's a great one too. Appreciate the journey, right? Like when you're in it, sometimes you don't appreciate it. You know what I mean? But you look back on it and go, oh, that was an amazing journey. But when you're in it, you don't really like look around and go, man, this is amazing. I wish I had done a little more of that in my journey anyway.
Yeah, true. That treadmill started moving pretty fast, like you guys as well. And you're hustling on it, and you don't really stop and smell the roses too much. It's happening so quickly. And what's the saying? Life's what happens when you're busy making plans.
That's right.
So we can plan our next year's tours and all this stuff, but it's really about right now and what we're doing in the moment. And I like that. That's a good one. I like your what's yours, Tater?
My earlier one was I'm on the downward side of a mediocre career, to fit the last. You're talking about careers. I always say that one, but
downward slide of a mediocre career. I love it.
Yeah, but it's not. I've enjoyed my career, and I'm very. You got to look at. I guess us three, because we're here. We've made we've done a pretty good living at a job that. It's really fun. You know what I mean? We didn't, we're making people smile, amplifying some noise, and everyone's really having a good time. And it's good to be a part of that, I think, and you're right. You do get caught up in the next show and getting some sleep and this and that. And it's hard to sit down and realize what's going on. And when it's over, you go, oh shit, that was actually kind of good. I wish I would have realized it then. So, and another one I don't like that I did early on is wishing away time. Trying to get to the next tour, like, oh, I can't wait till this tour ends, and you're right. Constantly wanting it to end to get to the next one. It's like, why was I wishing that time away? Let's enjoy it right now.
Yeah. You're on the clock. Enjoy your time. The other tour's coming up when it comes up. Yeah. I think that's not only in our business, but I think it just comes along with getting older and growing up and just being able to kind of reflect a little bit as an older person that's been through,
Well, listen, we are the 1%ers, right? We are the guys that got to do a job, still do a job that we love. 99.5% of the people on this planet do not like their jobs, and they go to work and for 8 hours, and then they come home, and then they have a life. Whereas our thing is, our life is that. And so I think that in that journey, we've been super lucky. I mean, we unlike most people on the planet, we got to be in a place where our lives were fun, just like what Tater was talking about, and still are, and are going to be when we go back to work. This is a weird, it's like putting pause on the VCR right now, the lines on the screen, or, it's like we're in pause.
Got to retrack it.
Yeah, we got to turn the tracking back on and hit play again, but it's going to happen,
Yeah. I've never sat still it's been 40 years if you include the bar band years and everything. So I've never had this kind of time off, like stopped. And I feel all this kind of emotional or psychological inertia, because I'm a guy that moves. I'm always going somewhere. I'm always traveling. I'm always, a step on to the next thing, finish this, going to do that. And to sit here for a minute and I'm, it's been good. It's good for me to just kind of chill out for a second, regroup.
Yeah, regroup.
And
bring the pace down a bit.
Try not to worry about stuff. Things are going to fall into place as they will. And like you said, we'll get back to it.
I think that's the hardest part, that people, and I am guilty of it as well, during this period. It's like, I feel the same way. It's nice that we're having a break for a minute that I haven't had in 25 years, 30 years. But it's also hard to appreciate it because of all the worry of financial crisis coming, like if I don't get work, and it's easy to fall into the getting panicked about what's happening in the moment, when part of what you should be doing is kind of appreciating that we have a break in our weird life that is a treadmill.
That's really what I'm trying to do.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm glad that you kind of bring that up, because I got to stop myself and remind myself of that too, when you're not reminding me of it.
No, it's true. I mean,
I've been really focused on what's next, and how long is my savings going to last if they cut that thing off, and and it's easy to slip into that. But fortunately right now, I got a real manageable overhead in my life, which happened at the perfect time. So I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I'm resourceful.
We all will be fine, and we all will figure it out. It is just this is an unprecedented event, especially for us in this industry, that we're going to go back to work last. So that's a difficult time period, but
and you do have to embrace that a bit too to get real. We got to realize we're going back last. Just embrace it.
No, that's right.
And let's move on. And
embrace it, and let's figure out what to do in the meantime. Yeah, I mean that's really
embrace it.
I've been keeping my eyes on pro sports to see if they come up with something creative, because they're really in the same boat we are.
Yeah,
and
they are.
People seem more motivated to get pro sports on the map than music. I could be imagining it, but it seems maybe there's more money involved in pro sports. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're focusing a lot of attention on it. So when I'm just looking at some of the stuff they're doing and wondering, hey, can that, drive-in movie idea translate into what I do? Or, some of the, bubble kind of hockey that they were doing, maybe there's some way to do some kind of sequestered thing in Vegas, or I don't know, but
well, for sure, there are people way smarter than the three of us trying to figure that out, right?
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because
they got a lot of money on the line.
There's a lot of money on the line. A huge corporation like Live Nation and AEG, I'm sure, have hired the smartest people in the world, scientists and whatever, to try to figure it out. So I'm hoping that someone that's super smart figures it out soon.
Yeah, me too. And I think they will. And I got faith in all of this stuff. I think things are going to get better. All this crazy kind of stuff that's going on, and then in the middle of it, just uncertainty financially, career, all this stuff, and crazy politics, and I have a feeling that things are going to settle down and everything's going to be okay.
I don't have a feeling. I know it. We're going to be okay. But hey man, thank you so much for spending your time with us, and it was really great, and your stories are awesome. I'm sure we'd love to have you back sometime and hear some more stories about working with some of the biggest legends in the business. But thank you for coming, and thanks for donating your time.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me. And I'm psyched to be here, and this was really fun. Like I said, I've never done anything like this, so it's I appreciate you guys considering me, and
glad you did it with us.
We wouldn't have thought of anybody else, man. You're the best. So thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you next week. Don't forget, tune in to see Steve Wood next week. Thanks, guys. Bye.